Good evening, everybody. If you'll give us just a couple of minutes, we'll get started. We have 3 items on our agenda tonight. I've got Sarah Seha-Bennett with me as well, who's my planner that's been most involved with all of these projects. So I'll let her do a lot of the talking this evening. She's got maps and pictures and so forth to share. So just give us a minute, make sure everybody is on, and then we'll get started. Good evening, everybody. Hi, Holly. How are you?
Good, yourself?
Doing all right. I got on a little bit earlier. We've got some folks joining us slowly but surely. I know I've got Sarah Seha-Bennett, is the planner in my department that's been working closely with everybody. We've got 3 items on the agenda tonight. So just so everybody understands, typically what we do is we'll introduce the project. Sarah's got maps. We'll walk through the maps and each item, and then give the developer, builder, owner, proposed buyer, whomever, give them a chance to speak and explain their project, the impact on the area, any mitigation, that kind of thing that we'll talk through. And then we'll give each individual that is there to speak on that, property owners, neighbors, and so forth, a chance to make comments and ask questions. So it's free flow of conversation, back and forth. We will call on individuals rather than everybody trying to scream out their questions. Everybody gets a chance to say something. We'll make sure that, I'll ask before we end the topic and make sure there isn't somebody that wants to speak on it or ask a question. So everybody gets a chance to speak tonight. Sarah, which one are we starting with first?
I think it's easier if we start with Holly's request.
Great.
It's the 30975 H10 West. It's going to be a zoning. Currently, the property is in the ETJ and it's being annexed and it's going to be zoned to be presented at City Council at the same time. The idea is to kind of have it presented to P&Z before it goes to council. So when council sees it, it sees the annexation, the zoning, and then you're good to go. It doesn't have to go back for any reason.
Right. So they bring it into the city first. That has to happen first. At the Planning and Zoning Commission, everybody will see the zoning first. Annexation only goes to City Council. So by the time Planning and Zoning Commission makes recommendation to council, the annexation, bringing it into the city, and the zoning will happen at the same time. So do you have a map of the location of the property, Sarah?
Yes, let me share my screen.
This is all part of, I think it's still all called Bowie lumber over there, right, Holly? I know you've got 100 million other uses, but are you still calling it Bowie?
It's Lone Star Lumber now.
I got you. Great. So it's that cross-hatched section towards the back of the industrial area. It's actually surrounded to the north by it's that light purple color is all industrial, I-2, which is what Holly's asking for on this site as well. That is the Ford dealership, no, Toyota dealership, repair shop now, I think is what it is. It's a new structure there. We've got an old Google map, obviously.
Yeah, it's what it is now, Laura, is it's the Toyota's body shop and overflow parking for inventory.
Gotcha. And then on the other side of it, the back side of it that goes all the way, all of that's industrial all the way to Scenic Loop on the other side and then to the south of that as well. So literally this lot is kind of a hole that is surrounded by I-2, which is industrial zoning. Holly's asked for it to be brought into the city limits and zoned what it's surrounded by, which is continued I-2 industrial type uses. Sarah, am I missing anything?
No, you're correct. I'm just trying to zoom out because that's the PDF and here's interactive map. It's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So this is the area we're talking about. Right now it's in the ETJ, as Laura was saying. Once it's annexed, receives this holding zoning until it's properly zoned. So this is why, and the map shows us holding.
The front area along I-10 is a C4, I believe, and there's some commercial uses up there that, but then beyond that are all industrial type uses back there. Holly, do you have any comments you want to make on this?
No, we're just going to continue. My plan is to continue with what we already have. We have just basically metal building warehouses, but one thing we've done on the existing stuff is we've put all of the fire hydrants and sewer piping and everything in. And we want to continue with that, into that piece right there. And it does complete the loop. And I've also paid the tap fee for the water for both of those. So we're just awaiting all this processing to get done. And then that does help Public Works with completing all their loops.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on this project? This one's fairly simple based on what it's surrounded by. Any questions from anybody? You can either, if you don't know how to kind of work things, and you can either raise your hand, there's a way to do it on the computer, or you can just say, I'd like to make a comment, and then just state your name. If there aren't any questions, then we'll probably go ahead and move on to the next project. Holly, you're welcome to join us, or you can sign out now, whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate all your help.
You bet. Sarah, when's the public hearing for this one? Do you recall?
So all these items are going to go on the P&Z. It's April 4th. It's a couple of Mondays from now. So next Monday is the 21st, 28th, and then the 4th. So the neighbors haven't been notified yet. As the applicants know, the deadline to submit applications was last Friday, and due to our close, like very tight time frame, the bond is today. And the public notification for the public hearing that P&Z will have, it's going to be posted on the 18th. So this is like this Friday. So not all the neighbors have had a chance to be notified about the bond meeting. So if they have questions, they can watch this video, or they can send the response letters or show up to the public hearing.
So we do notify in various ways, correct? Did we send out any texts for this?
Yes, I believe Heather did.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Holly. Appreciate it. Good to
Thank
see
y'all. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
What's next, Sarah?
I think next we can do 18 Scenic Loop is a special use permit for indoor commercial. Let me open the maps here so we can show the location.
So what's being considered, it's over there in the strip center that the daycare is in front of the Bernie Hollow, kind of that neighborhood area. And they're proposing an escape room.
Yes, I see the applicant online also, so you'll be helpful if you can explain the concept. So based on the UDC as C2, based on in category requires a special use permit for any indoor commercial recreational facility. They still have to prove that they have enough parking. They have to go through this public process. We notify the neighbors and all that. So we've heard some neighbors are a little bit concerned. So I really would ask you, Matthew, to explain what is the intent, how many people, what's the capacity of the space, hours of operation, all that.
And so Matthew, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Matthew Robinson, is my wife, Angela Reynolds.
Hi.
She owns the business and has hired me to kind of spearhead all of this kind of stuff. So it is something we've been passionate about as participants for the number of years that the industry is kind of new and open to, but it's ranges anywhere from like a haunted house kind of experience to an educational puzzle room kind of experience. And that's more what we're leaning towards. We want to have a sort of, family friendly, no spooky jump scares, no gotcha moment kind of things in that space. So it's 2,200 square feet. With our lease with the landlord, we're going to use it as is. So there's not a lot of construction that's going to happen. The office is set up with the floor plan as is very viable for our plans. Mm-hmm. And there's 55 parking spots in the parking lot, 5 of which are handicap. The daycare, of course, uses a lot of them right at that 6 to 8 a.m. range, and then 4 to 6 p.m. when they're dropping kids off and picking kids up. But with our hours of operation that we're still contemplating, we haven't nailed it down. We're expecting opening around 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. So we missed that entire window of the daycare drop off, so we don't hamper anyone's ability to get their kid dropped off. And then closing at 10 p.m. All of our experiences are by appointment only. You have to actually book tickets online, like movie theater. There won't be like walk-ins, so we won't be expecting a lot of traffic for people just coming to the parking lot and trying to get in the last minute. So it's being ticketed experiences that last roughly an hour. If they solve the puzzles faster, they're out faster. We will have 3 of those kinds of rooms and 1 room with some VR equipment that allows them to do a virtual escape room, makes it more interactive, but it's also a quicker experience. Mm-hmm. So we expect to turn people roughly over hour to hour and 10 minutes max. And with only 4 rooms operating that kind of cap out around 6 people per room on average, we're thinking a total of 24 people an hour if we're at full capacity all the time, which isn't really seen in this industry. So especially for a first year opening up, while it will be exciting and we'll do advertising for it, I don't think we'll get anywhere near that capacity at a time. And if they all come in their own car, which is also kind of unheard of, that's 24 cars in a 55-car parking facility.
Right.
And
Any
our-
outdoor activity at all in this, or it's
No.
all indoor?
It's all indoor. There's the main entrance right about the center of that. And we're in the building that's on the right on this image. So on the if you put your mouse over there on the lower half of that. So the lower half of that is suite 200A. So that's the space we'll be in. So you see the parking all the way around that bottom half in front of the building. It's pretty much all the parking we would anticipate using at any time. So yeah, the experience is again an hour churning people. Are according to our business plan with what the industry rates for charging people to do this, to remain in operation, we need to see 15 different people a day. And typically people book these in groups of 2 to 5, at a time. So 3 groups of 5 or 5 groups of 3, something of that nature. Is all we need per day to stay viable. So we don't think it's like we'll be here, cause us havoc, and then leave. We think we will get up and running and maintain a pretty steady flow. I went as far as looking at public data for traffic on roads. Scenic Loop between Sophia and I-10 has 6,548 cars a day. And Scenic Loop from Sophia down, like past 18's Scenic Loop, has 3,500 cars a day. So traffic on Scenic Loop is already in the 3,500 to 6,500 range. And we're talking about adding potentially a total of 120 cars, if that's 10 cars an hour for the roughly 12 hours we want to be open. The reason we're targeting a 10 o'clock closing is because the Texas wide kind of sound abatement policies is to have no sound after 10:30. I don't know what Bernie's specific sound ordinances are, but I've been living here for a while. With fireworks at 4th of July, I don't know that there are any, but we plan to be very respectful of that and not create a ruckus.
Right.
So it is
Right.
all indoors. We won't be playing loud music in the facility. And there's not like a bar on the corner so people won't be hanging out. We won't be serving alcohol either. It's a family-friendly experience. Come solve some puzzles, have fun with your friends, and then please go home. So,
Okay, I think you've described it pretty well.
hope so.
I would agree that, kind of staggering those hours, certainly with the daycare, will be beneficial. It appears that you've got plenty of parking over there. It's all indoors, so really the noise impact, we do have noise ordinances in place, obviously, but typically we're more concerned about outdoor venues. That's why I asked specifically that question, because you are near the residential neighborhood. Car traffic really doesn't sound like it's going to be much. You have 2 entrances, one off of Scenic Loop and one off of Sophia. Does anybody have any questions? I know that there were some emails, there was some Facebook chatter back and forth about it. So thought maybe we'd have some folks that wanted to ask some questions.
Is that on the planning committee's Facebook page? Because I haven't seen any of these Facebook chatter, and I'd love to address people's concerns.
Yeah, and usually it's in, I'm trying to remember what it's called. Bernie Area Informed Citizens.
Okay.
Typically where I see some Facebook feedback. And you're more than welcome to answer them. Again, we will have a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission on April 4th, starts at 6 p.m. If there are concerns, this is a special use permit. So it does require approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission and council to move forward. But it sounds like y'all want to address any concerns as early as possible, obviously.
Absolutely. We do not want to be ruckus. We're a small family business. We're not coming from New York trying to set stuff up. We live here. We pay our taxes here. We're just off Napa Oaks, which is in Napa Oaks, just off of Tarpon, the Fair Oaks Parkway Tarpon Road. So we're a little further down I-10, but we have brunch at Dinniger like everybody else. So
Anybody have any questions? I see a couple people on, but if you're speaking, you're muted and I can't hear you.
Amanda has her hand up. Can you unmute yourself, or you want to send it as a question on the chat?
Here we go.
Hi, I was wondering what keeps them from changing the hours, the content after they've received their use permit. Having gone to escape rooms myself, I know that turnover of rooms is pretty high because they want to keep interest up, and the thriller scary ones tend to be most popular. So they're saying that they're not going to put any of that kind of content in there, but then, 6 months down the line, is that going to change? And how do we address those things?
So to be honest, with once the special use permit is allowed there, that use is allowed there. There can be conditions placed upon the use. Of course, they have to be reasonable. And typically what we see for special use permits, conditions of approval are anything that's going to impact the outside, the neighborhood. Let's say, for instance, they backed up to one of the homes over there on Katy Court and they were going to have outdoor entertainment or something. Those are usually the conditions we'll place, that they've got to put in a fence, they've got to mitigate sound, that kind of thing. In this case, they're going to be specifically located on the scenic, or it says Bernie Stage there, but it's Scenic Loop side. There won't be any outdoor activities, but we can place conditions so that no matter who owns it, could be limited, maybe limited for hours. It's just got to be impactful in the neighborhood. So you have to kind of make a case for whether or not, if they stayed open to midnight, does that make any difference in the neighborhood? Does it impact y'all? To me, they're out on Scenic Loop. They're in, maybe even if they came in on Sophia Circle, they shouldn't enter the neighborhood at all. It may be, maybe something that might be helpful would be directional signage would be a requirement, so that people aren't wandering into the neighborhood trying to find it. You said Matthew, you said the address is off of Scenic Loop, not Sophia Circle.
yeah, it is 18 Scenic Loop Road, Suite 200A.
Okay.
So
So I think directionally that helps. But to answer your question, Amanda, once the special use permit is allowed, the conditions of approval stick with that. Whether he owns it or somebody else owns it, that those conditions will stick with that specific submittal. Now, whether or not they change their theme, I think that's a little bit of a stretch to try to control what happens internally. But certainly things that might impact the neighborhood can be issues, or they can be conditions that are solved, and be it during limiting hours or signage, maybe something
yeah,
to think
we're
about.
more than happy to put up directional signage because it helps with advertising a bit. And as far as the theme, the reason we don't want to is we have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, so we don't want a bunch of scary stuff for them as they grow up. So I mean, all I could do is, like a human, is promise I won't put anything R-rated in there. And like she's saying, unfortunately, like if given permission of approval to do this thing, could, but we don't have a desire to do that in any way. And with the one virtual reality room, it allows for several different themes in one space for the turning over of rooms. And then locking that, any of that content out that is too graphic for younger audiences. We will also be on top of keeping that in check. So.
Well, and you brought it up, so I'll speak to it real quickly. Anything that would be sexually oriented is considered a completely different business, and that's
Yeah.
not being permitted here. So let's just be
Yeah,
Not
clear
at
that
all.
not at
Right.
all. That is
that can't happen, or
Right.
you're going to have to be somewhere else.
right.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Like our intent is to run a family business. Our daughter actually goes to that daycare, and the staff there is excited to potentially do field trips to the kid room. We're going to build one that is geared towards younger groups. So that's the kind of business we want to run. So I can just promise as a human that kind of stuff, but
Mhm.
they make a point if we sell it to somebody else. I mean, I don't see that happening, but
well, those are the conditions that we might consider that would control
Yeah.
somebody else beyond you. So I think that's kind of what she's talking about. Did you
Yeah.
have any other questions, Amanda? Or comments?
Yes, yeah, I did have one other regarding traffic on Scenic Loop. As a resident there, we've noticed a large increase in traffic, particularly between like the Sage Canyon area, the Sophia Circle up to the 10. And so additional vehicles would just congest it additionally. I also see realistically, people miss the turn constantly for Sophia and going into the daycare and whatnot. And I foresee people missing it going down to Sage Canyon, which is the next inlet, and then turning and going through the community to come back around to get into the building. And we don't necessarily want traffic coming through there on a daily basis either.
Okay. That's why I thought maybe directional signage might be helpful,
Mhm.
but it's got to be visible too. So we need to figure it, and we don't want a lot of clutter either. So we'll have to try to find some way that people don't miss that turn coming in. Do you know, Amanda, how the daycare, do people enter off of Sophia's Circle, or do they come in off of Scenic Loop for the daycare? Do you have any
I don't
idea?
know. I don't know about them specifically,
I
but
was just
I just,
curious.
yeah,
I've
I just know
personally
that
done
like
both because my daughter goes to daycare there. So I've personally done both.
So you can go either way. They don't have any directional signage.
No, there's no directional signage now for the daycare. Just as you approach, you see their Apple Tree daycare vans,
Right.
but signage there is currently limited, and we would be more than happy to put up signs and get the permits for those as well,
Right.
for that process.
So we'll study that, because I think that might be the most impactful thing. Like she said, it's kind of people cutting through the neighborhood to get there.
Yeah. And I'll just mention that this property, when we went to lease it, it's been on the market for 4 years. So that's just 4 years of not generating revenue for the city. And it's kind of what we hope to do is pay our sales tax to Bernie and get what was vacant space for the last 4 years put to use.
Gotcha. Anything else, Amanda?
that's all I can think of for right now.
Well, you will
Thank
have
you.
another opportunity, like we said. One, if you live within 200 feet of this, you'll get a letter. And we'll look, there's a page in there, you can send a response back. And then again, we have the public hearing on April 4th, so you're welcome to attend that as well.
And even if you are not within the 200 feet, you can still send us an email with your comment, and that will also be counted towards the information that it's going to go to P&Z.
Sorry, just trying not to cough in front of everybody. Does anybody else have any comments?
Okay, then I think we can go to our next item on the agenda.
Great. If you want to hang out and listen to everything going on, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we'll see you on April 4th.
Yeah, I like to learn. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to. Go ahead,
Let me
Sarah.
open the next one. So the third and last item for tonight is a special use permit for an apartment garage at 431 East Bandera. And I was working on the maps for this. And even the appraisal district doesn't have the updated information online.
You have
They
the Google map, the Google Earth shot, probably be as beneficial.
It's not about that. It's the fact that property's been replatted recently. It was subdivided and it was recorded and all that. That's a done deal. But I have to call the appraisal district to get the property ID number and all that. So it was fun. Let me open this one. Okay. So the property is at 431 East Bandera. This whole lot was subdivided into,
Oh, these are the new lots right there off of East Bandera, across from
Yeah.
3rd Street.
yes, I have the recorded plat. Let me just find it again. So they're starting to build the homes over there. And Sean applied for a building permit with an apartment garage. And we told him that he had to request a special use permit. So he changed the building plan until this process goes through and see what that's going to allow him to put on the apartment garage. Let me get the.
I am here as well if you have any questions on the matter. This is Sean.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So you're building a home with, is the garage attached with an apartment above? Is that how it is?
No, it's this particular home is a detached garage. So if you remember, we originally had this set up for 10 garden homes. We couldn't get this, the entire drainage system approved by all parties of the bigger Bill Walters project, if you remember. So
Right.
we ended up going above ground and we went to 6 estate lots. In all that process, you know, if you remember, we discussed, you wanted to really push for rear entry or side entry garages because you didn't want a lot of back end traffic on Bandera. So that's what we've done. And through the last 3 years of developing this little piece of land, the zoning, I believe, has changed too. So it changed to where we require a SUP for, it's really not an apartment. It's like a game room or a guest house above the garage. And the reason for this is primarily to block the apartments and behind it. So as you know, Waypoint is building apartments in the back. Originally, when we purchased this land, there was an agreement between us and the original developer that they were going to be 250 foot off the back of the property line. And the first apartments were only going to be 2-story. Well, now the apartments are 75 foot off the back of the property line and they're 3 stories. So they're
Oh, wow.
intrusive to the lots and to the neighbors around there. I'm really surprised that they were able to get that through, but you know, it is what it is. So anyway, it's a dual purpose. It's one, to appease the city that wanted, you know, people to be able to drive out onto Bandera. And number two, the reason I put the apartment up there was to get some height to offset the view of the apartments looking into the backyard. Now, granted, they're 3-story. This is 2-story. It does have a peak roof, you know, gable like normal. But that was the only reason we designed it with an apartment. It's not a STR or anything like that. I mean, of course, whoever buys it can do what they want, I guess, with it. But the primary goal here was to really just give some privacy from the multifamily into the single family.
Gotcha. Well, just so everybody knows, there's a process. STR is short-term rental. And there is a process for anybody that's outside of what we're doing right now for anybody to come in and do a short-term rental there as well. It's got to be permitted, it's got to be approved and so forth. So if somebody chooses to do that, they'd have to go through a different process. Right now, this is just considered an accessory dwelling on a lot. We've got them throughout town, but they do, I believe it's still based on anything under a ½ acre requires city council approval. So whatever the purpose, that's the reason for the short-term rental.
So Sean,
I'm
I
sorry,
know you,
short-term rental, special use permit.
Yeah. No.
Sorry.
I know you have a site plan and I know you have the building plans, but I don't have it here. It would be really beneficial to have it added to the material the Planning and Zoning Commission is gonna see the site plan, like
Okay.
just,
I sent all that to, I thought I sent it to Sarah.
I don't have it.
Are you
I don't think I
Sarah?
do.
That is Sarah. Yeah.
Yes, it's me. I remember I saw some of it over at code enforcement, but it was on that side. So if you can send it to me, I
Okay.
would really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I'll email you the full plan. So yes, what we did is I went ahead and pulled permit. I redrew the plan without the apartment, just the garage. But I'll send you the plan with the garage above it so you can see it. It's a simple little guest suite is what it is. But I'll send it over so you have it.
Great.
And currently, as of right now, lot 1, lot 3, and lot 4 would have rear entry garages, but nothing above it. The consumers just, based on budgets and everything else, decided not to do anything. So lot 2 is the only one that would have this at this particular point, unless something changes.
Good. So does anybody have any questions for Sean? If you are speaking, I can't hear you. You just need to unmute yourselves.
Okay, let me try again.
I see Sandra.
Ma'am?
Is it Sandra? Is your name?
Yes, it is. And I live in the neighborhood down in the next block.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe it's verbiage that's causing me some problems.
Mhm.
Speaking of a game room and a guest room, to me, a guest room is a place where someone comes to visit a friend, as opposed to an apartment, which you would rent out and have someone who actually living in it. And I was wanting to sort of get clarification, because also, if it's a guest room with a full bath right now, and then the house is sold and the people turn it into an apartment, which are things that we see, and I just wanted to get some clarification. And also, is the game room and the guest room on a second story above the detached garage?
So the only thing above the detached garage is basically it's a guest suite. It's you can call it an apartment. I may have said game room. It's not really a game room, although it could be. The reason I use that term is I do have a customer that wants to contract on this, and their primary goal was to be able to, tell their kids to go away, right, for a couple hours or something. And so she kept calling it a game room, so it stuck in my head. The way my architect drew it was to be a guest suite. It does have a bathroom in it and a closet. It has egress, ingress. It will have its own air conditioner. So it could somebody rent it, I guess. I don't know. I think that's a different permit or something. I'm not really sure, but that wasn't the intent of it to be a secondary structure or secondary living for a secondary home. That wasn't the intent. The intent was really to get the roof, to get the wall plate high enough to conceal the apartments to a certain degree, and we filled it with something. That's really what it came down to.
So that can
If
go
somebody
either way.
could, I guess, to answer your question, if somebody, when I sell the home to somebody, whatever the permit allows is what they would be allowed to do.
Right. So it doesn't sound like that's the intent right now. He's got a property owner that just wants a guest suite above the garage, but it could be leased at some point in the future. Our rules allow somebody to lease an apartment, but they have to live in one structure or the other. In other words, they can't rent both out. They have to live in the house, and they could potentially rent the apartment if they so chose. They could also, you can have your teenager living back there instead of in the house, like you were talking about, Sean, get lost for a little while. So there are a number of things they can do, and that's the reason for the special use permit, is to make sure that there's no impact. So it can be used either way. It sounds like currently that's the intention, is not to rent it out, but for somebody to either it be a mother-in-law suite or a teenager suite. But it could be leased in the future. But just know that they can't lease both structures out. They have to live in one. The property owner has to live there for them to rent anything out.
And also if they decide to go, as Laura was saying earlier, if they decide to go with the short-term rental, it is a different process. So it wouldn't be something, once the house is done, they can just have a short-term rental. So
Right.
That's
That one will require a different process. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but I do have another question regarding the entry to the garage. Will
Okay.
that be off of Bandera?
So I wish I had the plan here. I don't, but so the house is about 25 feet set off of Bandera. And then the home, it's the driveway will go down the left side of the home. And the garage is in the rear at a 45-degree angle. So I believe these lots are 180 foot deep, and I believe the garage doors would probably be approximately 120 feet or 110 feet off of Bandera. So quite frankly, you would hardly even see the garage back there, especially once landscaping's in and everything. You're going to see the apartments behind it more than you're ever going to see this little garage. You know, there's I don't know how many units, but there's, I think, 6 main buildings. Oh, there you go.
Well, there you go.
There's 6 main buildings going in behind it. They're going to be multifamily, but so yeah. So you can see it's at a 45-degree angle behind the home. The garage doors would be facing more or less another lot. I can't read the measurement there, but I would call it at least 100 feet back there.
So the garage,
Setback and yeah.
right, the only entrance is, there's one entrance off of Bandera Road that will take you to the house and the garage, not two
Correct.
separate entrances.
That's right. One entrance.
And then they'll be able to, one of the things we discussed was that they'd be able to back out and come out facing Bandera Road, not having to back out onto Bandera Road. So-
Right. So the ideal here is this the turnaround pad on the left side of the garage, on the lower side as the picture is, should be sufficient. Although that could slightly change if we felt it was too tight. We could change it and make it larger or something. But yes, they would they wouldn't want to back all the way back into Bandera Road. The ideal is to turn around in the garage and pull out forward facing.
Great, thank you.
I'm fortunate in that I have a rear entry garage. Then we enter off of Falls Court and get our trash picked up back there and so forth. And so you don't have to carry it all the way out to the front. And so the traffic is bad. There's no other way around it, but they've got to get in and out. And I understand that. I was just wanting to get clarification, and I thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome. Anything else, Sandra?
No, I guess I'm good. And this is on the third lot. Is that what I understood the gentleman to say?
Now, this is lot 1. It should
No,
be
it's lot
No.
2.
lot 2.
Yeah, lot 2, 431 Bandera Road. Lot 1 is a 1.5 story kind of. It's got a game room upstairs, rear entry garage, and then lot 3 and 4 are both going to be side or rear entry garage.
Because the sign is actually, if I looked at it correctly, the sign's on, at the present time, the sign is on lot 1, not lot 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, because as we don't have the exact location on any map, we kind of would have to go there and measure. So it's just kind of an estimate location. And once you, as you did, come to the meeting or have anything like questions and you contact us, we would be more than happy to send you the location map that we have and all this information as well. So if you want to, we still can send it to you.
What Sarah's saying is they kind of just stepped it off and they wanted to make sure that whoever might have some concerns would call. So it's maybe a little closer on lot 1 than it is on lot 2.
Yeah, we're currently framing both lot 1 and lot 2, but if you were by there, lot 2, you can see the where the garage is actually, the foundation is poured for the garage, and it may be framed up already. I haven't checked, but you can almost see what's going on back there. But the garage will certainly be in the rear and appeasing, I think, to the community. All these homes are going to be built like kind and quality. So I think it'll be a nice finish out to Bandera Road.
So it sounds, Sean, like like Sandra's, one of your neighbors in the garden homes next door.
Mhm. Yep.
That's what she was talking about, the rear entry.
Yeah, if you go back one picture, Sarah, or I don't know who's running the mouse here. Go to
Sarah.
the
This one?
front left.
This one?
Okay, so you can kind of see how the garage is in the back on that front left perspective to kind of give you an idea of what you'd be looking at. So the front of the home, granted, the architectural pictures don't really do the home justice, but you can see that the garage is kind of in the back left corner of the property.
Now this is one lot over from y'all. It's not the neighboring lot,
Mhm.
Sandra.
May I ask another question since we're looking at this
Sure.
drawing and so forth and so on? Is there an entry or stairs out of the house to the guest suite, or do you enter through the garage?
So
There's a garage. There is exterior steps that will lead upstairs, and then in order to get from the house to there, you basically go off of your rear porch of the home.
Looks like that'd be the side up against the apartments, correct?
That's right.
Thank you.
there is, the lot one would be the one closer to you, Sandra.
Anything else?
You can also see from this diagram how much deeper these lots are. So that rear is going to be quite a bit back there comparative to the lots in the neighboring area.
Right.
Any other questions while you got him?
No.
That's
Thank
what
you.
it's about. Feel free to ask. I do see some other people. Does anybody else have any questions for Sean before we let him go? If so, just unmute yourself. As Sarah said earlier, you can also type in a question. It's kind of better if everybody hears it. Otherwise, Sarah's got to read it for you. But anybody else have any questions? Okay. Well, as we said earlier, the public hearing for all of these items will be on April the 4th, 6 p.m. City Council chambers. If anybody's got any questions, Sarah's your best bet to try to catch her, ask her some questions. She'll share with you everything that she knows. And again, we'll have the public hearing, and then it will go on to City Council for approval, for final approval. And another public hearing. So the whole process takes about 2.5 months to get through it. So you won't see anything really until then. Thank you all. Thank you, Sean, for coming. It's good to see you.
Thanks, everybody. I'll send you that revised plan, sir.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Everybody take care.